It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Another thing that I think is going on in America right now, which is we have turned education potentially into a negative thing for the younger generation.
Sure.
And a lot of that's through student loan debt. Yep. And we actually were in a meeting yesterday where we were talking about how much should you let your children participate in their education to feel like they have skin in the process, to actually take ownership and responsibility. And I was talking about how I think this epidemic of student loan debt is giving the younger generation a sense of hopelessness. And I think there's another element of this that we need to focus on, and that's number 5, which is 27% of Americans work in their field of study. This is a problem.
So I want to say that again. So roughly over 1 in 4 folks actually end up doing the thing that they went to go get an education in. The thing they said, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to go get a degree and I'm going to go pursue this field of study. Only 1 in 4 folks actually end up doing something in that field. That seems like a lot of inefficient use of time.
Well, that means, because that's the glass half full, the glass half empty perspective is 75% of people that are probably running up student loan debt are not even working in their field of study.
Yep.
That is a big, big problem. So here's what I want you to understand about this. When we have done our own research on our clients that are millionaires and successful, it's the exact opposite. We have found that 73% of our clients actually work in their field of study. So the point of this is not to make anybody uncomfortable or second guess, but it is if you have children in the house or if you're trying to figure out, maybe you're a person watching this while you're in college, measure twice, cut once, get the right major so you're not strapping yourself with debt that's not actually generating the dividends that you would expect, because that's a big, big problem.
I thought this was interesting, Brian. In 2019, or the graduating class of 2019, 69% of students, so 7 out of 10 students, ended up taking out student loans to get through college, and they graduated with an average of $30,000 of student loan debt. That means these folks that have freshly minted, they have a degree, they're coming out of the workforce, and rather than starting at zero and being able to begin their wealth building journey, they are starting at negative $30,000. They have to make up that much before they even get to zero to start building towards positive wealth accumulation.
And look, student loan debt is not something brand new to this generation. It's just that I think the size of it is what is brand new or modified. It was not uncommon for friends and peers to come out of college with $10,000 of student loan debt. But now I think we're getting to the point where it might be at or larger than your first year's salary. That's when it's detrimental. And that's why we do give the guidelines of, if you are going to have student loan debt, try to ensure that it's less than the projected income for that first year graduate in that field of profession.
Now, so if you are going to go to school to study something, or perhaps you have a teenager who's thinking about going to pursue a college major or going to pursue a specific vocation, if we recognize that 27% of folks aren't actually, or 75% of folks aren't actually using their major, then maybe we should make some better decisions about the majors that we're choosing. And so we ought to think about, what major should we pursue? And if we're going to go accumulate college debt, what are some of the best majors that will allow us to pay that back? And what are some of the worst majors that are going to make it difficult to pay back student loan debt?
I call this, this is truth in education. Just like you have truth in lending, where you have to sign all these loan documents before you take down a loan. They ought to do this with college majors. I've heard other people talk about this as well. And that's why, don't make us the bad person on this for sharing this, but we did go pull the research, not our research we went and found, but there are sites that compile what are the majors that have the hardest time of paying back student loan debt. And here it is on the screen. And like I said, this is not us editorializing. We found a source for this. But we have found that drama and theater, it's a struggle. Health and physical education, civilization, ethnic studies, composition, speech, fine arts, nutrition, and fitness. I'm sorry, Bo. I know you like to get that flex on.
That one hits
but
close
it
to
is
home.
a harder thing to pay back your debts or to make good incomes with some of these majors.
Now, don't mishear us. What we are not suggesting here is, hey, don't go pursue drama and theater. Don't go pursue civilization. Don't go pursue fine arts. However, if you are going to move into those vocations, you may want to make a very serious decision into what type of school you're going to go to and how much student loan debt you will accumulate trying to achieve that degree. If you can still go get that degree without racking up the debt, well, then it's easy to pay back the debt because you don't have any. Just know that if you're going to go into one of these vocations, the amount of student loan debt you acquire may not justify the degree that you're going to achieve.
Well, I don't like to do anything where we just give the negative.
Sure.
Because that's very glass half empty. Let's give what are the best majors if you actually want to have great earning potential, great career opportunity. And there's not a lot of surprises on here. Look at this. I mean, this is, I can practically hear Willie Nelson singing this in a country song, but we got engineering, nursing, operations and logistics, computer science, finance, the wonderful world of finance, economics, construction, services, special needs education, and accounting and actuarial science.
What part of Willie Nelson? Where did Willie Nelson come from?
It says, "Mama, don't let your babies grow to be cowboys. Let them be doctors and lawyers." And such.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it.
Now, reality is, doctors and lawyers didn't make that. But if I could rewrite, "Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys," we would have put engineering, economics, and the wonderful world of finance.
So this again, this isn't what we're not saying this. If you want to go be an engineer, don't think that the money guys just signed off and said, "Hey, go get as much student loan debt as you can possibly get to go get an engineering degree." However, if you are going to choose that vocation, you have a higher propensity to pay off the student loan debt required to get that degree. But there's nothing wrong with still trying to keep that reined in. Remember, our rule of thumb is, whenever you go to get student loans, you really don't want to graduate with more than you anticipate earning in your first year working. So if you're going to come out of school making $50,000 to $60,000 a year, you don't want to have more than $50,000 to $60,000 of student loan debt.
That leads to number 6. It takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. This one, guys, what I love about personal finance is that it rewards those that are patient, diligent, and willing to do the work that others aren't willing to do. And that is the way life works too. A lot of careers and other things, it's easy when you look at somebody who's doing well and go, "Man, that looks awesome." But what I think sometimes gets left out of that analysis when you're looking at somebody that's doing well is, what did it take to get that? And a lot of times it is an investment in building mastery of a skill.
Yeah, I think so often we get caught up in viewing the results that someone has. We may see an influencer or a personality or a musician or an athlete, and we see where they are now. We say, "Oh, well, so-and-so, they went straight to the major leagues or straight to professional status right out of high school. They did it at 22 years old or they did it at 18. Why can't I do it?" What you might not see is that they might have started doing whatever it was they were doing at 4 years old, or they might have been doing it for a while. Don't just look at the results where someone is now without knowing their full story, where they came from. And I would imagine in most cases you're going to find folks who've had extreme success, no matter if it's athletics or if it's hairdressing or if it's whatever the vocation, to really become an expert in that. I would imagine in most circumstances, they've put the time in, they've paid their dues, and they've acquired that 10,000 hours of mastery.
Well, I also think about the grind. I mean, I look back, I came out of college making $28,000 a year as a staff accountant. I had friends that didn't go to college at all that were in sales and other things smoking me.
Sure.
And that's just the grind that it is when you come out in some of these professions. Now, look, accountants make more out of college, but still, in relationship of where they potentially could make in the long term, they're paying brand new college graduates a lot less than they will make in 10 years of being an expert.
Yep.
It's because there's a grind of learning, getting your reps in, getting your at-bats to build mastery, to build the knowledge. And I tell you this, here's why I think that the 10,000 hours is important to understand, is that I don't want you to be in a profession that's somewhat of a grind and you're in year 2, 3, or 4, and you think about giving up after you've already put the time in, you've laid the foundation, you've gotten the education, you've made it through all the different gatekeepers and obstacles that make this profession great in the long term. Stick with it, or at least give it time to see if it gets better. And that's why I put that in, because I know in this instant gratification society we live in, that might sound old man on the porchish, but I can tell you, coming from a profession that rewards skill, knowledge, and expertise of giving the time to develop it, this does work out. Same thing works with doctors. Same thing works in a lot of fields. I would say it even works in social media.
Sure.
Go listen to the first original Money Guy show in 2006.
It's very different.
Fast forward now, we just talked about we're going to celebrate our 10,000th hour or 5-year mark on YouTube in the not too distant future. All of that has to go with this concept.
You know, and I think so often 10,000 hours gets focused on the beginning of a career or the beginning of a skill set. I think it really happens oftentimes throughout big changes in life. Perhaps you're someone who's thinking about leaving the workforce, entering into retirement. Just like it took you 10,000 hours to become an expert in your vocational field, you may want to spend 4 to 5 years figuring out what it looks like to be retired, figuring out how you transition that, figuring out how you can even master that life transition. So anytime you're going to pursue something, put the time in to make sure that you're an expert at doing that thing that you're going to do.